do it? Okay.
Hello, thank you for coming this session. My name is Takahiro Anno. I ran for the last Tokyo gubernatorial election. Today, me and Audrey-san talk about the broad listening in practice. So I think at first I will give 5 minutes or 10 minutes presentation, and I will talk about the last election and how we use the technology to innovate the election. And after that, I will bring some questions for the Audrey-san and talk about that topics. And if you have, feel free to interrupt me in the presentation at any time if you have a question.
And feel free to interrupt us as well.
Yeah.
You can raise your hand.
Yeah. Okay. Briefly, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Takahiro Anno. I have 3 jobs. One is software engineer, and one is entrepreneur. Actually, I founded 2 startups before I ran for the election. And thirdly, I'm sci-fi writer. I published 2 books by Hayakawa Shobo, which is a famous Japanese sci-fi publish company. And these 3 have a commonality, which is creating the future with technology. And the election, I'll talk about the election. This election, 56 candidates ran for the 2024 Tokyo gubernatorial election. So there are so many candidates at that time, and maybe early June, I have a press conference, and I show up, but the first reaction from the media was so cold because I'm not a famous person. I'm known with the technology people, but the other people doesn't know me at all. So the reaction was like, who is that geek? Or what the heck is that long hair? It's real. Some TV producer said to my wife that thing. Anyway, but in the result, I got 150,000 votes, although I'm not a famous person. Thank you very much. Winner was Koike-san, who is famous for the secret guest of this funding command. But these 4 people are really famous politicians, and I'm not a politician. I was not a politician at that time, and nobody knows me. But I got 1,500K votes, and this score is actually #1 vote getter in the history among the candidates with no experience and no organization. And #1 vote getter in the history among 30 candidates in the Tokyo gubernatorial election. So no one predicts this. Nagatacho was shocked. Nagatacho is the Washington, D.C. in Japan. And what I did, I'd like to explain what we did. And main concept is this slide, not broadcasting, but broad listening. This slide, maybe there is a Nishio-san, who is the famous graphic designer who writes this illustration. I'm not joking, he's a very talented software engineer. But every press, media loves this slide, so this is one of the famous slides among the election. And the idea is that in the past, there is a technology that enables us enable us to convey ideas to many people. This is broadcasting. But after there is a internet or after there is a smartphone, everybody says their idea to some people. So, but this is a problem because we cannot understand every notions from such a great numbers of notions. But in 2020s, finally, we have the technology to digest those informations. For example, LLM, large language models. Large language models can process our natural language, and so we can digest those many informations. That's main thing. In the past, currently, in the election, candidates try to broadcast their thoughts. This is one-way communication. But we make this two-way communication using broad listening techniques. And this is a system architecture of the election, the first version. I show this picture to the Audrey-san before the election, and I got some advices. Today, this is a simple version of the system architecture. This system consists of by three parts. One is listening part, one is brush up part, and third one is delivery part. And step one, listening. We use the tool named Talk to the City. Talk to the City is a tool developed in US, and I actually had this tool from the Seki-san, and we decided to use it. And this tool process the natural language comments and visualize the big picture of the people's notions. We get the data from X, YouTube, etc., and process with Talk to the City, and these dots are the comment, actual comment. So, and this is the comments on some famous YouTube show about the election, and we can see the big picture of that comment. And step two is brush up. We set up the web forum to discuss the policy of the campaign, and we used GitHub to make the forum. And because GitHub has a lot of customizability, we use GitHub Actions to implement AI to facilitate the discussion. For example, if there was hate speech or toxic comments or sensitive images, AI can detect it and filter it. So we can conveniently discuss constructively. And secondly, AI can detect the duplicated issues. So some people raise the issue, but it might be duplicated. So AI will notify us there is some other threads that talk that opinion, that topic. And Agile's brush up made better policy manifest. Actually, in the election campaign, this was only 17 days, and we got 206 issues and 104 pull requests and 72 merged pull requests. So, in the history, those kind of speed are not traditional way to update the manifest. And this is an example of pull request. This is one example out of 74. We listened a lot of concerns about income limit of educational grant. 所得制限の話ですね。Income limit. And we discuss after after the discussion of the web, we updated the manifest. This is the example, and it is a result. Our manifest got the highest score among all candidates. I got 50 points by Waseda Manifesto Institute, and which is the highest score. Actually, this is the best score on this decade. So I think this kind of tool is really useful to make the good manifest. And step 3 is delivery part. So we agilely update the manifest. The problem is how to convey the newest manifest to the citizens. So we utilize CI/CD, continuous integration technology, to update the website. In addition to that, we use AI tuber technology to deliver our manifest. This is the video. I'll show you.
どのような政策ですか？
デジタル民主主義はテクノロジーを用いて皆さんの声を迅速かつ広範に反映する仕組みです。具体的には AI タウンミーティングやブロードリスニング、オープンソースでの双方向政策改善を実施します。
Like this. So we hosted our AI avatar on the YouTube Live, and this AI avatar responds all comments on the YouTube Live. And there is people who doesn't use YouTube Live, and we try to reach those people. So we decided to launch not only on YouTube but also on the phone. We use Twilio to connect the phone number and AI, so we can ask by your smartphone. And the result was this. AI Anno gave 7,600 answers to the questions. On YouTube, 7,400, and on the phone, 1,200 responses. Obviously, physical Anno cannot answer such number, but we can use to augment our two-way communication between the citizen and me, citizen and the candidates. And finally, we decided to open source this whole system and open our knowledges to every candidate in the future. So I think this is an effective way to change the election, more like a digital democracy way. That's what we did. And I would like to emphasize the starting point of this trial, which is the plurality book. So this book was so inspiring, and actually at first Nishio-san introduced me that book. He's actually not only the graphic designer but also the translator of the plurality book, contributor. And I read this book, and I know the broad listening concept, and I will do in the practice. So I would like to say thank you for Audrey-san. That's the end of my presentation, and this is the questions to Audrey-san. I have 4 questions. How did you see this trial?
Yeah, I think this is a great proof of concept. Everybody can see how easy, right, that this new process is compared to the traditional way in which you need a lot of human staff to support this kind of real-time democratic input. Crowdsourcing is not a new concept. anybody know that crowdsourcing could work, for example, with Wikipedia and so on. But it has always needed a lot of people who are moderators, who are already part of the community, that understand the code of conduct of the community. But what we have just seen is that one person and a very small team with a very clear process can use language models and AI to basically duplicate themselves into the moderators, facilitators, summarizers, the different roles that it used to require a lot of people to play in a Wikipedia-like crowdsourcing ecosystem. And so now the conceptual integrity becomes the key. If you have a very clear way to reflect back people's voice to people, and you keep doing this, like imagine if this started not just a few months ago, but 4 years ago, then it will become a real political force. So what we have seen is a proof of concept, but it is the beginning of something that is much, much more.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I heard that you mentioned this case this is not a sci-fi.
Yeah.
So
that's right. This is today.
Yeah, this is today.
Plurality is here.
Yeah. The complicated thing is I am a sci-fi writer as well.
Yes. So that is great because you need to point people to what's called adjacent possible, like something that is just very like the neighboring future. If we go by our current trajectory, everybody can extrapolate. But as sci-fi writers or as poets, as authors, our job is to show like there is a future that is just next door. And if we steer ourselves a little bit toward that direction, we get into a much better future. And so that is required, but proof of concept is also required. Because if there is no proof of concept, people will think it's just sci-fi, right?
Yes,
so
yes.
it's Imagineer is both some person who imagines, but also an engineer that engineer the current possible of the image.
Yeah.
So the Imagineering, I think, is the important contribution of this trial.
Thank you very much. I'd like to ask the second question. I think this system also has a limitation. And what is the limitation of the current digital democracy? This is my question.
So we talked it a little bit, right, in your video call with me. A lot of it is just that people are not familiar with this system.
Yeah,
right.
People doesn't know GitHub. So.
Right, exactly. Like, what's GitHub? Why do I have to go to GitHub?
Yes, that's a lot of response that.
Right. So I think that is the real limitation, not the hair. And so people get used to your hair very quickly. But GitHub is still a large threshold to cross. So what we really need to do is like you have this hotline. And the hotline, people can call it and listen to answers. But at this moment, it is more like Q&A. It is not a group conversation. People cannot call into the hotline and have a real-time conversation with maybe 3 other people, 4 other people, and so on. But this is actually like a focus group. It's the default mode in political mobilization. You go to somebody's kind of local community, you have a local conversation like we have here, you invite a few people, stakeholder from the community, like 5 people or something, and then have a real conversation on the issues concerning the community. This is like the default for political mobilization. But for the current generation of technology, it is good for one-on-one conversation or a chatbot like ChatGPT or Anthropic. But currently, if you chat with ChatGPT, it doesn't introduce you to new friends. It doesn't hold a conversation with 5 people at the same time. So it is not yet very good in a kind of a small room experiment. And this is what we did in Taiwan. We invite people to go to a video chat with 9 other people, 10 people in the same room. And that is a much less limited, because then people feel that they can see some other perspective, hear some other perspective before expressing their ideas. Whereas currently, with the one-on-one system, you only have the candidate, the manifest, and yourself. But you feel that maybe the candidate knows a lot and yourself only have one issue to report, and that is very transactional. You do that and you hang up the phone. But if you have an ongoing conversation with 9 other people or 4 other people, it becomes a continuous conversation that you can join at any given time, and the quality of conversation tends to become much better when you have more than 3 people in the same room. So I think that is the one-on-one modality is the current main limitation, but I'm sure that we can overcome it very quickly.
Very interesting. So 9 people is good number?
Yeah, I think 9 people is pretty good number. In Taiwan, we sent 200,000 SMS to random numbers. And so this is to prevent somebody from hijacking the conversation. So we know that people responded from those numbers, and then we chose 450 people through stratified random sampling. So it's random selection. So we know these 550 people in the conversation represent statistically the same kind of gender balance, regional balance, all sort of occupation balance, and so on. It is a microcosm, a mini public of the Taiwanese population. But if we ask them one-on-one, the survey, then we don't tend to get a lot of very good quality because a lot of them will be duplicates. Right? But if you get them into 45 different rooms, as we did, of 10 people each, then the deliberative polling have the chat room itself being the moderator. Previously, it was impossible because for like 45 room, you need 45 moderator, you need 45 summarizer, you need 45 facilitators, support team. But now, because of AI, if people become very quiet, they only listen, don't speak, the chat room can push them, saying, speak up.
Yeah.
If people interrupt each other, then the chat room can say, oh, you interrupt for 5 seconds, that's enough already, right? So the chat room now can continuously do something like the Talk to the City does, which is to take a selfie of the group and let the group see what the current topic is, what the current divisive points is, what the current bridge is. Whereas the current use of Talk to the City is more like a static portrait, right? So you see one portrait, but you cannot immediately contribute to that portrait because it's too many people. But if it's just 10 people, then it's easy to see, oh, the other 7 people, the other 8 people are now all over the place, and I think of a new idea that can bridge those 2 differences, and I contribute. And the other 7 people are, oh, you're so smart, right? So it is a very good interaction, so that in the space of a day or so, we can very quickly get very high quality conversation, because people automatically deduplicate. If you hear somebody's idea is the same as yours, obviously you think to extend that idea. You will not reiterate the same idea. But if you poll those 450 people individually, most of them will be duplicate. So in rooms of 5 or rooms of 10, I think we tend to get better quality conversation.
Very interesting. Thank you for answer. I'd like to go to the third question. I think that this in the technology way, technology aspects, we don't have the perfect solution yet. So, do you think what is the missing parts of technology to achieve digital democracy?
Yeah, I think a lot of the current parts are all ready. It is just that the existing governance system is only using certain parts in certain functions, but not assembling them in a way that truly gives the power to people to augment those parts. So we hear again and again, like we need to wait for a government to warm up to the idea, or wait for a candidate to start trying out new ideas. But if the parts are ready and easy to use, ideally, anyone in your class, in your workspace, or someone with just 5 friends or 10 friends should be able to try out those ideas without asking anyone's permission. So I think it is not the parts that are missing, it is the technological burden at the moment. Like you have to customize Talk to the City. You have to change it so that the Git large file system can handle the input and so on. So it's always a lot of technological debt to be paid in order to make such parts very easy to use. But I think in the next year or 2, because of AI's contribution to software engineering, a lot of those setup problems will be fixed. And then it becomes truly easy to DIY, to assemble yourself such parts into new systems. And only when people get comfortable to try it out at home, at workspace, and at school, and so on, do we actually can say it's digital democracy, because it's everybody, right? The demos, the people themselves doing the demonstration. Before that, we call it maybe adaptive administration. The government choose some parts, but you still have to wait for the government or for the candidate with very good technical support to be our champions, right? So I think the popularization requires us to invest in making the initial step even easier than currently is.
That makes sense. Thank you for answer. Maybe we are running out of the time. Maybe we have 2 minutes. So I'd like
our
to...
next step is to listen to questions.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this is so inspiring that we are using technologies for our democracy. And actually, what I would love to ask for about the case that we are depending on some technology, but let's assume that I own the technology. So because of that, I would love to slightly change the results from the technology, using the technology, compile people's idea, but actually change that a little bit and giving it to you. So in these kind of scenarios, what should be the thing that we need to more focus on?
Yeah. You say you open source the process. So if people change the process, are you still going to maintain the project?
Yeah, this is a practical problem. Actually, the maintaining the project costs. So I think we need some funding to maintain, ideally, but it is really hard to get in these circumstances. So if you have a good idea, please teach me. That's a really good point, I think.
That's why we come to the funding the company.
So it says time's up. Considering broad listening, we will extend this 2-hour session. So please raise your hand, and then we, Audrey and Takahiro will choose one out of you guys.
Thank you for today's fantastic sessions. I'm very honored to be here because you are both contributor for digital democracy. So let me ask one question about the result of Tokyo governmental elections. So for Audrey-san, so how do you see or analyze the phenomena in Japan? I mean, this is a new generation's power in the Japanese political context. So how do you see or analyze this impact for Japanese politics?
Yeah. We actually, in our initial video conversation, that was one of the comments I made in that in 2014, when I joined the Taiwanese cabinet as a youth advisor, as a reverse mentor to existing minister. I was 33 at the time. And we had a rule at the time, that any young advisor that joins the cabinet level need to be younger than 35. Because if we're older than that, then we become limited in our imagination of what is possible. And so actually the younger the better. We have very, very young, like 17-year-old, 18-year-old youth advisors. And so I think what we are seeing now is an intergenerational conversation about the possibility of democracy. Indeed, when I joined as a young reverse mentor, people are not saying, oh, Audrey Tang is going to replace all the ministers will become 30-year-old. No, it's not like that. It is about adding adjacent possibilities of the possible futures into the vocabulary of the conversation of the existing cabinet. And so I think a healthy mix of that is very important. And as we obviously see that his opponents, right, including Koike, the governor, are very impressed with this kind of broad listening capabilities. And so when more people practice this, then the more senior generation will not see the younger generation as just protesting. They will see the younger generation as demonstrators. Protesting is just counterpower. but a demonstrator is augmenting power, showing new possibilities. And so the more people see the young people as demonstrators, the more the young people's voice and power will be realized. And of course, after I turn 35, I'm no longer young, so they promote me to a full minister. And so as full minister, I have my own young advisors.
Oh, thank you for that. Let me ask one another
Sorry,
question.
so
Okay.
we will take one more question and then we will
Okay.
Yeah, because it is broad. You know,
So please choose one.
yeah, one more question. Any? Yeah, here's one. Here.
Okay. So my question is on how you can increase political engagement of younger and potentially politically inactive individuals. I think that you come from well-educated and highly earning backgrounds, and a lot of those people didn't really seem engaged by the campaign that Anno-san had. What do you think the problem there is? Do you think that this can be approached by technology? Do you think that TikTok is the way to go? Any opinions would be appreciated.
Okay, my one hypothesis is that using election, because this election, I don't think this is sufficient attention, but we can use we make this result, and this is because this was an election. So usually people doesn't pay attention to political issues except for the activists. So normal people doesn't pay attention, but but digital democracy needs attention from the people. That's one key problem, I think. But using the election to the resource of the attention, even not famous person can do this. So that's my hypothesis.
Yes. So it means not a single person do it at more scale, but more people doing it. Like in all levels of elections in places that's not Tokyo, right? So again, as I said, it's about a demonstration. So once the demo works, the next one will only be less expensive. And the next one will be easier, And then we will get more and more people who care about such issues to organize this just because it gets the message out. Not just trying out new technology. Trying out new technology, of course, motivates us. But for people who want to reach out, this is actually a very cost-effective way to reach out. So I think the economic argument will win in the next few years when more people use this as a mobilizing tool.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation and Q&A session. And then please for us to the speaker. Okay, so this session will be closed and then goes to the next session.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you want to stay here, please stay here.
忘れ物がないように。